There are few places in Africa where a traveler can begin a journey among glaciers and end it on the shores of a desert sea. We set out on an expedition across northern Kenya. Our route would lead us from the snow-covered peaks of Mount Kenya, through the lands of the Samburu people, across remote semi-deserts and forgotten frontier towns, to the shores of Lake Turkana, the legendary Jade Sea. Along the way we would meet warriors, healers, nomads and fishermen. We would follow ancient caravan routes, cross some of the harshest landscapes in East Africa, and discover a region that has been home to humankind for more than 1 million years. The snow-capped peaks of Mount Kenya rose above the town of Naro Moru. Located at an elevation of 1,800 meters, the town served as a popular gateway for climbers preparing to venture into the mountains. In Naro Moru, my friend Maldini from the Samburu tribe joined our expedition. One November morning, we packed our gear into a Toyota four-wheel drive and set off toward Mount Kenya. Francis handed Dominic some extra bread and a supply of AA batteries. Although we planned to spend only 4 days in the mountains, we had packed enough food and supplies for a full week. After topping up the fuel tank in Naro Moru, we set off for the mountains. Mount Kenya can be climbed via 4 different routes. The Naro Moru route is the shortest, but also the steepest. The peaks of Mount Kenya lay more than 30 kilometers from Naro Moru. But in the mountains, distance is measured in vertical meters rather than miles or kilometers. Ahead of us was a 3,000-meter ascent. 16 kilometers later, we reached the entrance to Mount Kenya National Park. In a roadside clearing, buffalo grazed peacefully beneath the mountain slopes. Lone old bulls are considered some of the most dangerous animals on the African plains. During the rainy season, Mount Kenya's buffalo herds move down from the high slopes to the greener lowlands. With the help of a powerful engine and four-wheel drive, we ascended to an elevation of 3,000 meters. Here, the dense rainforest reaches its highest limit on the mountain. The road came to an end at a remote weather station. A wooden sign announced our elevation, 3,048 meters or 10,000 feet above sea level. We unloaded our gear and arranged our return with Francis. He would come back to pick us up in a few days after receiving a radio message sent from the weather station. The volcanic massif of Mount Kenya is more than 3 million years old. Established in 1949, the national park covers an area of 715 square kilometers. We said goodbye to Francis and prepared for the next stage of our journey. As we sorted our gear, Maldini studied a map of the Mount Kenya massif. He admitted to feeling a little nervous. It was the first time in his life that he had ever been in the mountains. Ahead of us lay a 1,200-meter climb. Our destination was Makinda's camp, perched at over 4,000 meters above sea level. With noon approaching, we had just 7 hours left before nightfall. Hiking at a brisk pace, we slowly emerged from the dense mountain forest. Our first rest stop came at 3,300 meters above sea level. Here, two very different plant worlds meet. As we gained altitude, the tall forest gradually gave way to a strange landscape of giant lobelias and hagania trees. We stopped for a short rest in complete silence. The air was perfectly still, and we were in no mood for conversation. Ahead of us is a demanding trek across the marshlands that lead into the Teleki Valley. Maldini is struggling across the muddy ground. His boots slip constantly on the waterlogged trail. Visibility is reduced to just a few dozen meters by the thick fog. Soon, however, we reach an altitude of 4,000 meters above sea level. Suddenly, shafts of sunlight pierce the mist and illuminate the mountainside. This is the realm of giant groundsells and towering heathers. Some of these extraordinary plants can live for as long as 200 years. The temperature has dropped to just 10 degrees Celsius. Ahead of us lies the entrance to the Teleki Valley. We make our final push, traversing the steep slopes of the Teleki Valley. We begin to see rock hyraxes, friendly-looking animals that live in colonies of several dozen individuals. We tackle the final stretch of the climb with what little energy we have left. At last, we arrive at Makinda's camp, where the snow-covered peaks of Mount Kenya rise above us in breathtaking detail. The first European to conquer Mount Kenya was the English explorer Halford Makinda. In 1899, he reached Batian, the mountain's highest summit, standing 5,199 meters above sea level. Dominic soon made friends with the resident rock hyraxes. Curious and fearless, the little creatures busied themselves around our camp, investigating every piece of luggage. Despite their rodent-like appearance, hyraxes belong to a very different branch of the mammal family tree. There were still 2 hours left before darkness fell, so we pitched our tent at a leisurely pace. Unfamiliar with camping, Maldini could do little more than watch. For the first time in his life, our young Samburu was about to spend a night in such cold conditions. His shelter for the night was a simple stone building, somewhat grandly described as a mountain hut. A morning wash is far from pleasant in the freezing cold of the high mountains. My sense of awe at the raw power of nature grows as I realize that I am standing in the heart of Africa, right on the equator. I watch air bubbles dancing beneath the ice and find myself wondering how the early European explorers endured such harsh conditions. Men like Johann Krapf, the first to report snow on the mountains of equatorial Africa, and Joseph Thomson, who later confirmed these astonishing accounts. It is hard to imagine the limited equipment available to pioneers such as Count Samuel Teleki and Sir Halford Makinda as they ventured into these mountains more than a century ago. We admired Maldini's unwavering determination. Born into the pastoral traditions of the Samburu, he was experiencing snow for the very first time in his life.
Tomorrow,
I think I'll join you tomorrow and climb to Point Lenana. Maldini assured us that he was adapting quickly to the altitude. Despite seeing snow for the first time in his life, he seemed perfectly at home in the mountains. It was the 16th day of our expedition. From the early hours of the morning, the mountain basked in bright sunshine. Dominic asked, "Maldini, aren't you afraid to go into the mountains with us?" "Not at all. Hat, jacket, trousers, socks, boots, gloves. I've got everything I need." In excellent spirits, we made our final preparations for the climb. Let's get moving. Far below us lay the Teleki Valley and Makinda's camp. Around us, the mountain weather shifted constantly. Perched at 4,790 meters above sea level was Austin Hut, the last shelter before the summit slopes of Mount Kenya. Below us, the great tongue of the Lewis Glacier swept down the mountainside. Dominic showed Maldini the route to Point Lenana, following the line of the ridge with his finger. Maldini was fascinated. For the first time in his life, he could touch snow, a white, icy substance that packed easily into snowballs. There was no time to build a snowman, however. The summit was waiting. We stood on the summit of Africa's second highest mountain. Maldini was glowing with pride. According to the Kikuyu people who live on the slopes of Mount Kenya, he was the first Samburu ever to reach the summit. The first since the beginning of time, they added with a smile. It was the 21st day of our journey. We had reached the Lurutsi Plateau, in the heart of Samburu country. The next few days would be spent among the people of Maldini's tribe. Town of Isiolo stands at the meeting point of two very different worlds, the fertile central highlands of Kenya and the vast arid lands that extend northward toward Ethiopia and Somalia. Bantu peoples are largely absent from this region. Instead, It is home to Cushitic communities such as the Somali and Borana, as well as the Nilotic Samburu and Turkana. We have local industries in the town, including the making of knives and spears. Nearby are villages of the Borana, Somali and Turkana peoples. We also have a livestock market, where people buy and sell camels, cattle, goats and sheep. There is also a large market where you can find fruits, vegetables and many other goods. Most of this produce comes from the Meru district, about 50 kilometers from here. We have many items that tell the story of the local cultures. This traditional Turkana container is used for storing meat. It is made from animal hide.
And this one is what normally using for the milk.
This one is used for storing milk. The lid and the straps are made from camel hide. And this one is made of wood.
This is all the camel leather. This is just a wood. So you know what makes it black inside?
Do you know why the inside of this container is black? Hot ashes from the fire are placed inside, and the interior is smoked. It is then cleaned with a small brush. Once the inside is clean, milk is poured into it.
Very black.
Victor became our local guide. He led us to a small market where members of many different tribes gathered to trade and socialize. The Turkana girls came from a settlement near Isiolo, traditionally inhabiting the lands between Lake Rudolph and Uganda. The Turkana have expanded across large parts of Kenya over the past decade. In the midday heat, the fruit and vegetable market of Isiolo seemed strangely quiet and nearly deserted. The stalls still offered citrus fruits, onions, tomatoes, sugarcane and carrots. Most of the vegetables came from the fertile region around Meru. Dominic picked up a few lemons, and with Victor leading the way, we left the marketplace behind. November was the season of the short rains. Dense clouds rolling in over Isiolo from the south created a dramatic and unforgettable backdrop. We were the only visitors in town. Souvenir vendors approached us on the streets wherever we went.
Many friends should use to
A little bit long. My bag is not enough long.
You know we can
Put this inside. I show you.
Let me show you what I have for trade, and I'm sure we'll make a deal. We can work out a deal. Maybe you can give me a t-shirt and a little money for the materials, and we'll have a deal.
money for material.
In the end, Dominic gave in to the vendor's persuasion and became the owner of a folding Samburu spear. After reaching a preliminary agreement, they went to the hotel, where the bargaining and barter continued. The next morning, we set off for a Samburu settlement. We walked across the grazing lands of the Larosi Plateau. Accompanying us were two young Samburu men, Lawrence Latina and our friend Maldini. During our rest stops, we discussed the relationships between the Samburu and the larger Maasai and Kikuyu tribes. Maldini spoke about the struggle for land between pastoralist and agricultural communities. The Maasai, who are closely related to the Samburu, traditionally did not recognize private ownership of land and drove their cattle herds across territories belonging to other communities. Besides tribal politics, we were also curious about the customs and traditions of the Samburu people. What kind of girl are you allowed to marry? The only girl I cannot marry is one from my own clan. After several hours of walking, Maldini and Lawrence cooled off in a small stream. Several hours of trekking with heavy packs had begun to wear down even our Samburu guides. We were now only 4 kilometers from the village of Sirita Oroibi. Soaked by the rain, dried by the sun, and weary after many kilometers on the trail, we entered the Samburu Maniata that would become our home for the next few days. After a brief inspection, we decided against spending the night in the hut and began pitching our tents.
And when she comes to where the girl should be, Mike's mother's project, she's supposed to choose of one. You have to be given flavors of
The Samburu, like the Maasai, trace their origins to the regions of southern Sudan and have created one of Africa's most vibrant cultures. To this day, they live in livestock enclosures that form pastoral settlements. Their greatest wealth is their cattle herds, which bring their owners considerable social prestige. We were warmly welcomed by the owner of the Maniata, Lawrence's aunt. Our hostess was busy distilling corn moonshine. The local spirit was very popular among the herders. For Lawrence's aunt, who had been widowed, selling the homemade liquor provided an additional source of income. Our arrival in Sirita Oroi quickly became a major event. As evening fell, neighbors began gathering at our compound. Everyone enjoyed themselves immensely, with music and moonshine adding to the festivities. It was our first morning in the Samburu settlement. The sun had not yet risen above the horizon, and a penetrating chill filled the air. Reluctantly, we emerged from the comfort of our tent. There was no sign of the merry, singing crowd from the night before. The Samburu had already been up and about for an hour. The men were driving the cattle to distant grazing grounds, while the women were busy preparing the morning meal. The daily ritual of making coffee was about to begin. Ever since our climb on Mount Kenya, our camping stove had been working flawlessly. We used alcohol as fuel, as the gasoline available in Africa was too heavily contaminated. Lawrence was helping his aunt clean a milk container. A glowing piece of wood from the fire was placed inside the calabash. The smoke and intense heat killed germs and kept insects away. This method of cleaning calabashes was practiced by pastoralist communities throughout Kenya. The sun was beginning its journey across the sky. Young men known as Morans were tending cattle herds grazing several kilometers from the settlement. The tradition of Moran warriors remained deeply rooted among the Samburu. Each year, tribal conflicts over cattle claimed more than 1,000 lives across Kenya. Sometimes armed with firearms, the warriors guarded the herds and defended the wealth of the entire community. Only married men in their 30s and older could join the Council of Elders. It was they who held real power in Samburu society. A man's status depended largely on the number of children he had raised and the size of his cattle herds. Most important decisions were reached collectively. To mark the significance of such meetings, beef was roasted and shared among the participants. Deliberations over marriage alliances brought together representatives of every clan from throughout the region. Today, the authority of local chiefs mirrors Kenya's administrative division into districts. Gatherings of the elders served not only political purposes, but also offered an opportunity to renew friendships and reinforce bonds among the members of the 9 clans. The young warriors not only safeguarded the settlements, but also placed great value on strength and physical endurance. They readily accepted our invitation to race. This time, our guide Lawrence left the warriors far behind in a 100-yard sprint. Maldini was proud of his friend, and everyone was thoroughly enjoying the occasion.
Congratulations.
We spent several days in Sereta. Our morning wash took place in a fast-flowing stream descending from the Karizia Hills. Its water was freezing cold.
Cold?
Regular dips in the icy stream eventually caused Dominic to come down with a cold.
Night was not so good.
I didn't have a good night. I'm feeling a little sick. My nose is completely blocked and I can hardly breathe through it.
No air. According to my culture.
In our tradition, if someone becomes sick, they are taken to a healer who gives them the proper medicine.
Different medicine, according to what disease ones have.
He can determine whether it is malaria, a fever, or some other sickness. A healer may also give you a remedy believed to protect you from every kind of danger.
Protect you against any danger, any evil spirit.
Where does the healer live? How long does it take to get to him? It takes about an hour to get there. He lives up in those hills. If we visit him, he'll likely gather some herbs and prepare a remedy for whatever is troubling you. The healer's dwelling stood in a remote location, well away from the grazing grounds and the nearest settlements. Seated on cowhides, we watched the local healer at work with keen interest. The healer recited a ritual formula believed to awaken the healing properties of the plants. Using chopped leaves, he prepared an herbal infusion that was said to ease congestion and improve breathing. The tense moment before taking the remedy appeared to trouble only Dominic. After all, he was the one and only patient. After a few minutes, the herbal brew was ready. Dominic's task was simple. He had to drink the entire contents of the leather cup.
Yes. All for you.
A moment of relief followed. Dominic swallowed the entire concoction, and his doubts about the Samburu healer's intentions quickly faded away. The healer's reputation depended on the effectiveness of his remedies, and he was determined to do everything possible to help our friend recover. We were getting ready to head north. The deserts and semi-arid wilderness of northern Kenya lay ahead. It was the 31st day of our journey. We were now at 4 degrees north latitude. To reach Lake Turkana, we had crossed 8 degrees of latitude from our starting point. The lands north of Isiolo form a natural frontier between two worlds. Here, an invisible line separates the fertile south from the desert north. The people who inhabit these harsh lands are deeply conscious of their distinct identity. This is where Kenya's asphalt roads end. This is where British colonial administrators once ventured, sketching the boundaries of a new state. And this is where modern Kenyans from the great cities arrived, bringing with them the ideas, institutions, and ambitions of a new age. Together with 2 local guides, we journeyed across the landscape, searching for the nomads who had settled in these remote and unforgiving lands. There, over there, is a Turkana settlement. We visited a newly established Turkana homestead, built by a family that had moved here from the north. Ejok, Ejok, Ejok. Good morning. 2 women greeted us in their native language. Like many of the people living in the area, this family had settled here only in recent years. Since the 1920s, the Turkana nomads of the western and southern shores of Lake Rudolph have gradually spread across ever wider stretches of Kenya, extending the reach of their pastoral world. Having lost their husbands in tribal fighting in the north, these women were forced to rebuild their lives. Crafting necklaces from ostrich eggshells and weaving baskets brought in a small but much-needed income. Nothing offered greater security than a growing herd of camels. During the rainy season, a single dromedary could command a price of roughly $120 at the livestock market. The journey we had dreamed of for so long began with a punctured tire. On African roads, that was nothing out of the ordinary. Maldini set about changing the wheel with practiced ease. The driver's assistants had clearly performed this task countless times before. Their swift, coordinated movements as they loosened and tightened the wheel nuts would not have looked out of place in a Formula One pit lane. "215 kilometers separated us from Lake Turkana. It would take us 2 days to reach its shores. Hour by hour, the landscape grew more rugged and inhospitable. We had entered the semi-desert wilderness of northern Kenya. Our overnight stop was the town of Baragoi. Our accommodation for the night was a modest hotel built by local Kenyan soldiers after returning from UN service in the former Yugoslavia. The next morning, there was no time for a leisurely start. The porters were already loading our bags into the vehicle, and Dominic was the last to step out of the hotel in Baragoi. Another vehicle stood ready. A vintage 1960 Land Rover would carry us across the wilderness as we raced to reach Loiyangalani on the shores of Lake Turkana before sunset. One of our breaks in the journey turned into an impromptu photo session. The distant Naro Mountains, hazy on the horizon, evoked memories of the rugged landscapes featured in classic westerns shot in Colorado and Arizona. The final stretch led us across a vast expanse of rocky desert. Then, at last, Lake Turkana lay before us. Loiyangalani served as our base by Lake Turkana. We lodged in a simple local hotel. Morning ablutions were decidedly Spartan, yet in a region surrounded by desert, a trickle of water flowing from a tap felt like an extraordinary luxury. Life in Loiyangalani quickly settled into a familiar rhythm. Every morning, the water containers had to be replenished with fresh drinking water, a task that invariably belonged to Maldini. The next step was to boil the water. Dominic had been responsible for this crucial duty ever since the start of our expedition. Without our morning coffee, none of us seemed capable of functioning properly. The settlement of Loiyangalani emerged in the early 1960s. It became a refuge for Turkana families whose herds had been devastated by drought. Today, representatives of several pastoralist tribes from northern Kenya live side by side in the small desert town. Alongside fishing, handicrafts provide the community's most important source of income. Turkana women are particularly famous for their exceptional basket weaving skills. A skilled weaver can produce up to 3 large baskets a month. The income from their sale provides enough money to support and feed several children. "And what is the price of this stone?" I asked an elderly trader who specialized in semi-precious stones. The amethysts and other quartz crystals originated in the nearby Kulal Mountains, whose rugged slopes concealed a wealth of semi-precious stones. Several inhabitants of Loiyangalani spent their days searching the surrounding hills for gemstones and crystal deposits. In the Turkana language, Loiyangalani means the place of trees. Palm groves and acacias thrive around the hot springs, creating a rare oasis in the desert. Thanks to these life-giving waters, a settlement emerged in a landscape otherwise dominated by barren stone and dust. The freshwater springs of Loiyangalani made it possible for a Catholic mission and a police station to be established here. They also ensured a supply of running water in our hotel. The waters of nearby Lake Turkana, however, were alkaline and unsuitable for drinking. Maldini had always loved water, and the hot springs quickly became his favorite spot. We affectionately nicknamed him Samaki Makubwa, Swahili for big fish. Most of Loiyangalani's newer neighborhoods had sprung up between the hot springs and the lakeshore. As evening approached, women and children collected fuel for the fires. In a region where wood was scarce, bundles of reeds and papyrus took its place. The evening hours were ideal for swimming in the lake. We also took every opportunity to cool ourselves in the lake. Immersed in its waters, we temporarily forgot the chilling tales of scorpions concealed under stones and poisonous snakes waiting along the shoreline. After a sweltering day, with the temperature climbing to 40 degrees Celsius in the shade, nothing could have kept us out of the water. Lake Turkana first entered the European imagination through the travels of the Hungarian explorer Count Samuel Teleki. In 1887–88, he reached the shores of the immense lake known to its indigenous inhabitants as Buso Narok, the Great Dark Water. In the late 19th century, the shores of Lake Turkana were almost entirely deserted, visited only occasionally by scattered bands of nomads. Today, the lake attracts growing numbers of impoverished pastoralists seeking a new place to settle. Just a few kilometers from Loiyangalani, on the shores of Molo Bay, lives one of the smallest peoples in Africa. The Molo have called this remote corner of Lake Turkana home for centuries. When Samuel Teleki visited the area in the late 19th century, the Molo still spoke a distinct language of Cushitic origin. Today, much like the Pygmy peoples of the Congo Basin, the Molo have largely abandoned their ancestral language in favor of that spoken by their neighbors. Through generations of intermarriage with the Samburu, Ma has become their everyday language. Our arrival in the lakeside village set many of the women in motion. The annual influx of tourists had transformed life along the shores of Lake Turkana, creating an entirely new cottage industry. The Molo now devoted much of their time to crafting baskets, handbags, and wooden dolls for visiting travelers. The sale of local crafts had become the domain of women. Even traditional necklaces, once worn as symbols of identity and status, were now displayed for visitors. The most sought-after items were Turkana dolls and vivid strings of beads fashioned from brightly colored plastic. Joanna chose to purchase a souvenir from one of the market stalls. Out of respect for our Molo hosts, we refrained from bargaining. A small woven casket found a new owner, and the shy trader seemed both amused and intimidated by the attention of our cameras. Fishing remains the main livelihood of the El Molo. Legends still circulate about the bravery and hunting skills of men who once pursued crocodiles and hippopotamuses in the waters of Lake Turkana. Nowadays, however, hippos are found mainly near South Island, while crocodiles have become far less numerous, leaving few opportunities for such exploits. The El Molo, whose population numbers a little over 400 individuals, are divided between two settlements on the shores of Lake Turkana. Contact with the Samburu and the Catholic mission at Loiyangalani gradually altered many aspects of El Molo life. They adopted the Ma language from their Samburu neighbors, along with certain cultural traditions, including polygamy. The Italian priests introduced them to a cash-based economy and the purchasing power of money. In time, this fostered a growing desire for material possessions that had previously played a much smaller role in their lives. Like many African societies, the El Molo continue to place great value on respect for elders. Senior clan members enjoy a respected position and are looked after by their families and communities. Linguistic and archaeological evidence suggests that the El Molo are the oldest surviving community living around Lake Turkana. Research conducted by Richard Leakey and other anthropologists has revealed that the lake's shores have been inhabited by different human populations for over 1 million years. At Kubifora, north of El Molo Bay, scientists discovered numerous hominid skulls and fossils. Among them remains identified as Homo habilis. One of the women gave me this fish for dinner as a present. I caught this fish myself, Maldini announced with satisfaction. I've also saved a few fish bones to bring good luck to my friends. He was clearly delighted. For the rest of our stay in El Molo Bay, he enthusiastically recounted the events of the day and his encounters with the local fishermen. Our time at Lake Turkana was drawing to a close. The November sun was relentless at 4 degrees north of the equator. After a month of travel spanning 8 degrees of latitude, these few days by the lake felt like an unexpected vacation.